Well, sometimes you experience technical difficulties with the intro, but that happens. It's all right because we're live. We're back in action. We're ready to attack your speakers from the field to the bleachers, baby. Here we go. It's the Power 32 podcast. We are here. So is Mr. Primetime, David Dale, and Kenny Pickums, a.k.a. the smartass, also in the house, ready to give his unbelievable knowledge as he did last week and made me lose my entire mind. But it was wonderful. I love a great debate. We did it then. It was nuts. It went off the freaking rails, and it's all in good fun because we're all boys, so it's not like we're actually going after each other. But yeah, Kenny pissed me off, man. I'm not gonna lie.
It was good. If you guys missed it last week, you guys missed a show to remember. The last 20, 30 minutes or so was just Kenny and his wild takes, as he's known for it, and then me and Jason kind of just giving him shit for it because some of the stuff that he was saying, and some of the stuff. Actually, we all had some wild takes, but Kenny just kind of took it to a whole different level at the end of the show.
Yeah,
that's what he does, and that's why we love him.
Yeah,
no doubt. Love Kenny to death.
Those rabbit holes.
Yeah, that was like Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole.
Yeah, really. That's right. We ended up in some freaking new land with all sorts of crazy shit, but it was great, man. What's up, Darwin's Raven? Going to keep us on while he does his shit. Love it, love it. Ready to rock and roll. So, yeah, we did our quarterback list last week, our top 10 of all time. We're going to do our top 10 running backs this week. We got more shit to get to. But, yeah, so, news around the league. We're going to get to that, of course. Russell Wilson. We'll hit on that for a few minutes, but we're not going to spend a whole bunch of time on that. We want to do more draft talk. We want to get into our running back list. We want to hear what you guys got to say about it. Your top 10, if you agree, who you disagree with, however it may be. So let's get it. Let's get it going. But we start now traditionally each week with a trivia question. And it is attributed to what we're doing during the show today, which is a running back themed show. So I ask you guys, and think about it. You don't have to spit a name out right away. Here's the question. Think about the question also. Which player in NFL history averaged the most rushing yards per game in a single season? Not talking about all time. Which running back in NFL history averaged the most rushing yards per game in a single season?
I can't make a J with my other hand, but I'm thinking O.J. Simpson, $143.
Okay, O.J. Simpson is the answer for Mr. Dale over here. Kenny, what do you think?
Now, this is single season average per game or single season total rushing yards per year?
No, average per game. Otherwise, you guys would know that answer.
I thought there's a lot of old players. I don't know who we're counting here, but I thought it was Jim Brown with the most per game, just over 100, and I thought Barry Sanders was number 2 with 99.8 yards per game.
Jim Brown leads in career yards per game, which is 104.3. But the answer to the question is, in fact, the juice, O.J. Simpson, Mr. Prime.
Give it to me, baby. It was a
14-game
season. The year he ran for 2,000 yards, he averaged 143 yards a game. That's insane.
Now I know you mean.
He nailed it. I was going to tell him. I was going to tell you, for real, man. He was running for his life. I was going to tell you it was 143 yards per game, but you nailed it. That's exactly what it was, man. So that's really well done. Bonus points right there.
You know why I missed that one? Not on my list.
Already given out little teasers already.
OJ's
making me mad as hell. Oh boy.
OJ just couldn't cut it on that list, man.
This sounds personal, is what I think. Obviously, you were on the other side of the decision. You didn't like it, like millions of other people didn't like it either.
Some people take character concerns into it. Some people don't. That's where I'll leave it.
Well, hey, listen, you do what you want to do. It's your list, and that's why we're here to debate it. It's going to be a lot of fun. But you did still partially get the question right, because, again, Jim Brown's career is the leader at 104.3 yards per game. So well done. I got to read you guys this. This is unbelievable from the NFL Network as I try to kill a bug that's flying around in my room right now, little son of a bitch.
Oh, wow. It's warm enough for bugs.
If I was a bug, why would I fly around a big giant person like myself and piss it off? Like, that has got to be the dumbest thing. That's what bugs us.
Maybe he just wants to hang out with you.
Well, that's even dumber. He's got another thing coming, this freaking guy. I don't know where he is right now, but I gave him a little smash and I hulked his ass. All right, so check this out from NFL Network.
Jesus.
Here we go.
You're going to have the PETA people down your back, man.
Oh, boy.
PETA doesn't like that. You kill the bug.
Here we go. Check it out. Taking measurements at LSU's Pro Day on Wednesday, Will Campbell's arm length came in at 33 inches. Okay, which is longer than the 32 5/8 number taken at the 2025 Combine. It's a significant number for Campbell, whose initial arm measurement had NFL teams questioning whether or not he could man the tackle position at the next level. Just as he rebutted, this is Will Campbell, then the 21-year-old can maintain that the length of his arms won't be a major factor in the grand scheme of things. And quote, for 2 years, nobody had any measurements on me and nobody said anything about my play, Campbell said Wednesday via Mike Triplett of the New Orleans Football. So now all of a sudden, an arm length decides if I'm a good player or not. This is exactly why the scouting combine is a bunch of bullshit and these pro days are a bunch of bullshit, because we're talking about arm length and whether or not that's going to make, and what we're talking about here is 33 inches to 32 5/8. I mean, how small is that? Centimeters,
guys. Tiny
right?
fragments of like inches.
And that's going to make a team decide, oh, you know what, his arms are a little bit smaller. But look at the tape. Prime time. That's all you got to look at is the freaking tape. And that's what this kid is saying.
That's it, man. It's all about the eye test. And, you know, every year it's hand size, it's Wonderlic tests, it's shoe size, it's shuttle speed, it's all that all that stuff that Ken the
what
guy.
What your first grade project was. It's ridiculous.
Mine was the volcano with the baking soda, by the way. But it's always I understand that they want to turn. That's what we kind of alluded to last week, though, and we were texting back and forth this week. They try to turn it into a science, and they try to break it down to the nitty gritty, you know. And it's like they give you the smallest little thing to try to discourage a team from drafting a player or just to shed some negative light on a guy. Because all accounts I have, Will Campbell's a good teammate. He's a good guy, good student, all that other good stuff. So if you're going to nitpick over 3/8 of an inch for his arm, I mean, that's probably because he didn't stretch as much that day for all we know. I mean, there's a grand scheme of things, man.
Or maybe, you know what? Maybe it was arm day and he worked out a little bit and his biceps.
Right, he tightened up a little.
Yeah, hey, we spoke about OJ real quick before the show. I just want to say, remember, his hands grew because of inflammation.
Well,
remember, he wasn't taking his inflammatory medication, non-SIDs or whatever they are, and
that's why the glove
didn't fit in the glove. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not only that, maybe he sat in the hot tub for a few hours and got all puffy.
I'm sick of it, man.
Judge a man 2 centimeters like that. He's been doing the job, like he said, for the past 2 years. He hasn't had a problem. Nobody's had a problem with it before. You watch the film, he does what he has to do. If you want to bump him to the inside, then there's nothing wrong with that either. But I know the man can play tackle and guard. You can't judge a man like that because when you go back and look at the grades, they didn't all fit in your categories. They weren't all perfect.
He's still going to be a top 10 to 12 draft pick. There's no doubt.
And he'll be in the NFL for a minimum 10, 15 years. This man is a professional football player. He is going to be in the NFL for a long time unless he has a major injury.
No doubt. Yep.
Yeah, 6'6", 320 pounds. I think they'll be able to find a job for him somewhere.
University of Michigan, too, is like lineman university, man. They pump out linemen like they do a great job of training linemen. I don't want to say pumping them out, but they do a great job of training their linemen. A lot of people go there for their final year to play in Michigan.
Oh, well, now he's from LSU.
LSU.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That's right.
But you're right about Michigan. Michigan's all about the big boys. You're right. There's no doubt. What's up, CJ Ruthless in the house?
CJ Ruthless.
Hey, CJ. What's up? My bad. You know what? You look up all these guys and you see the same uniform colors and you're stuck in it, you know?
Yeah, no, I got you, bro. Hey, it's all good, man. You know, listen, we're getting old. We got to make sure we focus and take that ginkgo biloba shit or whatever the hell that makes your mind better.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever the fuck. I got to get you guys' opinion. We're not going to spend much time on it because already it's old news with Russell Wilson going to the Giants. Basically, what happened here, fellas, was it's real simple. They called Cleveland. Cleveland's like, "Go fuck yourself." They call Tennessee. Cleveland's like, you can go fuck yourself twice, all right? Because they're taking their quarterbacks, or they know what they're doing. Most likely, it's 1 and 2, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. So the Giants said, you know what? We got option C over here and take Russell Wilson. He can make up to $21 million. That includes a lot of incentives, but the deal is for 1 year, $10 million. Got to go to primetime first. It's your team. Are you happy with this, or do you think now you're a middle of the road type of team and now you can't tank for Arch Manning anymore?
I think you hit it right on the head. The thing that kind of worries me a little bit is the offensive line. I talk about it all the time. I beat it to death, but the offensive line of the New York Giants, it doesn't matter who you have back there. It wouldn't matter if they had Matthew Stafford or if they got Aaron Rodgers or whomever they got. Because whoever it is going to be back there running for his life. But overall, we talked about it a few weeks ago. I'm not totally unhappy with the signing. Is that going to translate? I think Vegas bumped the win total up over and under from 3.5 to 4.5. So in Vegas's mind, it's not going to make that much of a difference. But in the fans, in the mind of New York Giants fans, they see Russell Wilson and they think a Legion of Boom. They think of all the things he did in Seattle. They're not thinking of how he crapped the tank in Denver. They're not thinking of how they played horribly down the stretch last year in Pittsburgh. They're just thinking Russell Wilson, and maybe with Brian Daboll's offense, he can kind of get some Josh Allen type vibes going there. Overall, like I say, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm like a 6.5 happy. I think you could have saved that $10 million and just rolled with Jameis Winston. But I know you needed a third quarterback on that roster. You still, like I say, until they get an offensive line, it doesn't matter who they have back there. But like I say, about a 6.5 out of 10 is my happiness scale with them signing Russell Wilson.
Yeah, they needed to get a grown-up in the room. They got one. They got a veteran. I mean, I know he's been passed around now. This is his 4th team. And like you said, the win total went up 1 win from 3.5 to 4.5. I would jump on the over, to be honest with you. I think the Giants
I would too. They're probably 6-7 wins.
Yeah. So I think that it's a good move for them in that respect, if they want to possibly stay relevant, maybe catch, lightning in a bottle this year. It has happened before with other teams. Malik Neighbors has shown to be a top wide receiver. He's incredible. So if they can make some good moves in the draft, you never know. And the Giants do have the 3rd overall pick here. And again, not going to be one of the quarterbacks most likely from what we're reading, Kenny, but they can go ahead now and pick Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, we got a few players over here.
I mean, from what I understand, they're still 100% looking at Shedeur Sanders, even adding Jay and Russ Wilson. But I wanted to ask you also, is Tommy Cutlets is still there too? So what's going on?
Oh, come on. He's 3rd string at best. I mean, Drew Lock is probably running him also.
But even if he's 3rd string, right, then why are they going to get Sanders? I think it's crazy to pass up on an Abdul Carter or a Travis Hunter or even a Mason Graham. Or even, you have more needs than the quarterback. You can wait a year.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think my thing is too.
Go ahead.
Real quick. My thing is, if you're the Giants right now, you don't have the luxury of going offense, defense. Right now, you need to have an identity. And right now, if you can add a Mason Graham next to Dexter Lawrence with Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and Bobby Okereke, and the cornerback we just signed, I forgot his name that quick.
Safety, right?
Yeah. But if you can, now you're onto something. Even Abdul Carter bookends with Kayvon Thibodeau. Now you're kind of onto something. So now you're building a defense, even if your offense remains a less than 21 point per game offense. So I'm kind of excited. I don't really want Shedeur Sanders. I'm not really high on him. If we can't get Cam Ward, then you go with what consensus is probably one of the top 3 players in the draft other than quarterbacks, and that would either be Mason Graham or Abdul Carter. I'd be happy with either one of those guys on my team.
Well, I don't want to spend too much time on it. Not to cut you off, Jason, real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I don't know if we brought it up last week or if we did it off camera, but I did mention the fact that you're going to pass up on Genty, maybe the 3rd best person in this draft, and possibly be the next Saquon Barkley. Is Genty a possibility at all for you guys?
They can't make that mistake again, because if they do that, then they're going to be this time forced to give a big deal. And I don't think the Giants want to put themselves in that position. As far as getting Sanders, I definitely think that is still on the table. It's a possibility.
Yeah.
But unless
Cleveland takes.
that's the thing. Cleveland, I believe, is going to take him, and I think that Myles Garrett knows that. That's his little secret right there, and he's very happy with Shedeur Sanders, who is more of a pocket passer than people really know. So Myles Garrett knows something is going to happen, and he believes that it's going to be Shedeur, and they're going to try to make other moves and have a good draft and whatnot, and that's what Cleveland's going to do, and we'll see if they can improve. Look, they're not far removed from the playoffs. They have good players. They have a really good coach. I mean, he's a 2-time actual coach of the year, Kevin Stefanski, believe it or not. So, they know what they're doing over there. So,
like David said, need an identity, like David said, and I'm with that. I agree. I think that when you're the Giants and when you're Cleveland, you might as well get a really good defense because you ain't going to beat a team. So you might as well be ready to face the teams that you're going to face with a devastating line and some, a good defense to rush the quarterback.
I hear you, but if you believe that there is a game-changing quarterback in there and you believe that much in Shedeur Sanders or even Cam Ward, let's say he falls to 2 and Titans are really in love with Shedeur, you never know. 1-2 interchangeable. Or they
go Hunter or Carter. You just don't know. Tennessee might do that.
Well, you see, that's the thing, and that's my belief is that they are definitely going quarterback, and that's why the Giants did what they did. And not only that, they should go quarterback. I mean, that's what they really need. If you want to, again, get your fan base going again, get them excited about a player who's going to put butts in the seats and do. Abdul Carter, is great. Travis Hunter, definitely great, no doubt about it. And the thing about him is he going to be a corner? Is he going to be a wide receiver? That will save again when we do our mock draft, which is going to be a lot of fun in a couple of weeks. We'll have to do all that sort of stuff. Another move that's far removed, guys, real quick. Stephon Diggs, really good move to the Patriots. He gets a nice deal, 3 years, $69 million. So, Kenny, I think that definitely helps Drake May. There's no doubt about it. They need more. We'll see if they address it in the draft. And as you guys heard me say before, I think the Patriots should take Ashton Jeanty at number 4. And he will be available. I think that's the best player because Mike Vrabel is all about running the football and playing great defense. And he's stacked up on defense a lot. You can still get good players later. They draft early in the second round again. I would go get a game breaker like Ashton Jeanty, man. And we're going to talk about him a little bit later, fellas.
Well, I'm not a huge fan of the Diggs move. You're probably not surprised by that. I'm not impressed. The guy tore something. He's 31 years old. I don't know if he's going to be the same guy. Will it be enough of a guy there? Sure. For that price, not for me. I could have got wide receivers in the draft that could have done what he's doing. No offense, Stephon Diggs. Too much money. They're just throwing it all away over there anyway, so whatever. Yeah. But I'm sorry. That's $23 million a year for Stephon Diggs, who's returning from a tear at 31 years old. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
that's what I was talking. We were talking about that last week, and we were talking about whether they were going to sign either Amari Cooper or Stephon Diggs, and they end up going with the. I would probably spend that money on Cooper, but Jay, I know you and I were talking too about how they probably could have got him for 17, 18 million bucks a year, and then to sign him to a 3-year deal on top of that.
He's 34 years old. That's the end of the player's career.
Right, and then you had all this money, and you started off spending it really well, and now you're getting. I think they're getting a little desperate right now. Yes. They want to make a big splash. They want to look at us, look at New England, look what we're doing. But at the same time, you got to spend wisely. Even though the cap's going to go up and up and up and up, you still don't want to waste 23 million bucks a year on a 31-year-old guy who's injured, who is not as consistent as he used to be. I've never been a huge Diggs fan, but I think New England dropped the ball on this. But if you can draft an Ashton Jeanty, now you have a running game to go along with some of the offensive line that you got, and now you have, in theory anyway, a veteran wide receiver to kind of bring a little bit of calm to the room. So now I think New England they're going opposite of what we were talking about with the Giants. I think New England, they were so bad on the offensive side of the football last year. I think they really want to do whatever they can to beef up that offense, and I think Ashton Jeanty would be a perfect fit there to kind of take some of the heat off of Drake May. You can hand it to him 20, 22 times a game, plus he can catch out of the backfield.
He most definitely can. If people believe he's the third best player in this draft, it might be a good idea to think about it.
Why not? And you know what? New England's been talking about taking best player available. We'll see who that is. Maybe they do believe in Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter and think they could do more, but they got to get more help with Drake May. I agree with that. As far as the offensive line goes, if they don't address it in the first round with a guy like Armand Membo or something like that, what I'm hearing, you could do it in the second round. I'm looking at a couple of people right now, like Josh Connolly from Oregon. who can go.
Sure.
Greg Zabel, Josh Simmons, maybe Tyler Booker. You can come in and get a little bit later. So, we'll see. I mean, there are guys out there that, that they can get. But there's something that's been on my mind now, and I'm very curious because even for him, it's too strange. What do you think actually will happen first? Alien disclosure or Aaron Rodgers picking a fucking team? What is going on?
That's a tough one with who's in office right now. That's a good question.
I'm interested. I mean, it might come out. I mean, what is this guy doing again? He might be hanging out with the aliens, Aaron Rodgers, for God's sake.
Right, they might both come out simultaneously.
He did shroom on the top of a pyramid, so we don't know what he saw up there.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, guys. Do you even care at this point?
Not anymore.
The guy
You're right.
And guys who are chiming in the chat, do you guys even give a damn anymore? Because wherever he goes, he's going to ruin that team.
Yeah,
he wasn't. I gave him the benefit of the doubt a little bit this first year with the Jets because he hurt himself. But last year wasn't.
Shocker.
It's not the Aaron Rodgers that everybody's used to. And again, kind of goes back to the Russell Wilson. It's guys for the first 5, 6, 7 years of their career, it's the talent. And then the rest of it, it's the name. Ooh, Stephon Diggs. Ooh,
right.
J.K. Dobbins. Ooh. All these guys that you ooh and ah about, but you got to look at their age. You got to look at their production. We talk about all the time about the eye test. You got to look at what Aaron Rodgers did in the last couple of years, the year before being excluded. But last year, he wasn't really all that great, and he had everything he wanted.
Yeah, he wasn't terrible either, though. If you're a desperate...
No, he wasn't terrible. Some of those stats are a little bit like fourth quarter come from behind stats, but again, he wasn't throwing interceptions, which is what he normally does not do.
Right.
So
that's right.
I think he still can be good, and I think that if you have guys like George Pickens and DK Metcalf, and think if you want a Pratt Fryermuth, but he can catch a ball over the middle every once in a while. If they draft a running back, Pittsburgh, I think that would be very interesting for them. It depends how good their offensive line is, and that depends if you draft a running back or not for a lot of teams, how good your offensive line is. And that's why I think the Bears may be in the hunt for one of these top running backs, or Marion Hampton if he's available. We'll talk about it. We'll get to it. We'll go through all that. But speaking of these running backs right here, there's a lot of first-round running backs that actually really hit. Not that necessarily they all won a Super Bowl, but here's why I'm okay with drafting a running back even early in the first round. Like I'm saying, Ashton Jeanty should go to the Patriots. Maybe Marion Hampton goes to Denver, Pittsburgh. Another one sneaks in. And we're going to talk about these guys. But
that'd be crazy.
Here we go. Check out these names real quick, all right? Bijan Robinson. I know he hasn't won anything yet, but he's got incredible promise. Like a Breece Hall has got promise. But Jahmyr Gibbs, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Leonard Fournette, who won a Super Bowl, Christian McCaffrey, who's been to one, he's all world. Ezekiel Elliott was a big hit in the beginning. He faded out kind of quickly. Adrian Peterson, okay. Marshawn Lynch, LaDainian Tomlinson, Sean Alexander, Jamal Lewis, Edgerrin James, Ricky Williams, Fred Taylor. These are all first-round running back draft picks, and they all hit. Now, again, did they all win Super Bowls? No, not necessarily, but these guys all hit and made their teams better. So, you know what, Kenny? I'm all right drafting a running back in the first round, especially if he's got the talent of an Ashton Jeanty or some of these other guys that we're going to be talking about in a little bit.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. If you get your guy, if you know you want him, get him. There's nobody like Jeanty, I don't think, comes close to him in this draft. Now, somebody might work perfectly in someone's system. That's a different story. But the top running back with the most talent and raw tools is Jeanty. I don't think I don't think it's going to be too much of a long shot or a risk to pick him up. It seems like a sure thing. He's a great running back. He looks the part, and he's done it all. He's shown you what you want to see.
I mean,
Prime,
have you seen his numbers? Prime, have you seen his numbers this year? This year, what he did, he rushed for 2,600 yards and then 29 touchdowns. That's abnormal. Who the hell does that?
Who does that? That's like Barry Sanders back when he was playing with Oklahoma State. You know,
it's that bluegrass.
He was going to end up rushing for 3,000 yards. It seemed like that, and I think every once in a while, even if you look at what the Lions did with Jahmyr Gibbs and they drafted him and he's turned out to be pretty good for them. But every once in a while there comes that can't miss guy, especially from the running back position. You ran off a whole bunch of guys, but and that was back when running backs were still valued, but I think the thing is come full circle. I think people are really starting to see the value of a running back again. And a guy like Jeanty, you get him behind a good offensive line. I don't even think he needs a great offensive line. You just get him behind a good functional offensive line, and he can go for 1,800 yards, man, and he can really, really take the heat off of any quarterback, whether it's a young quarterback like Drake May or, you know, if he ends up falling to Denver with a Bo Nix. If he fell to Denver with Bo Nix, they could seriously contend for that division, in my opinion. But I think the value of the running back, and people in the chat and fans out there, let me know if you agree, but I think the value of the running back is returning. And 2,600 yards in a season, that's ridiculous. I don't care what division you're playing. I don't care what team, Power 5, 5, I don't care. 2,600 yards in a season for a running back is absolutely insane.
It's unheard of because there aren't 17 games in college.
That's right, exactly. That was my point before. He did this in 13 games. So I mean, come on, 215 pounds. He ran a 4.42, a 4.4 40-yard dash. The guy is awesome.
That's what Jay Jettas ran.
There you go. I mean, that's pretty damn fast. And again, he's a bull also, this guy, Jeanty. And you know what? He doesn't have all the glorious pass catching numbers, you know, like some of these other guys, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He displayed that on so many occasions. So he's going to go early. I mean, if the Raiders pass up on him, then I think that Carolina might be in there. I think Chicago might be in there, but he's probably going to be a top 10 guy. He's too good of a talent. But here's some other guys like Omarion Hampton had a really, really good season. Also, he catches the ball well out of the backfield. I like the way he looks at North Carolina. 1,660 yards, 15 touchdowns, and almost 400 yards receiving. He's a big guy, 220 pounds, and prime. He can really run the ball and run it fast. I mean, he had a 4.46, 40-yard dash. So, again, this guy also can help out a team. I think he'll be first round. And, again, like these teams that come to mind, you know, like Denver and maybe even a Pittsburgh can use him, you know, when you get a little bit later in the rounds. Maybe even Minnesota, who's a few players away from maybe being a Super Bowl contender, even with J.J. McCarthy. So, you know, I think a guy like him can even go early.
I mean, even what if, you know, and staying in the NFC North, even a team like Chicago, you know, right now, DeAndre Swift, I think, is the main running back on your roster. You know, if Chicago took a running back right now, you know, a Travion Henderson or maybe but Omarion Hampton has got a first-round grade in a lot of people's mock drafts. I was a fan of his. The powder blue kind of catches your attention when you're scrolling through the channels on a Saturday afternoon. Caleb Johnson from Iowa, not the greatest 40 time, but he's a workhorse. Travion Henderson, Donovan Edwards from Michigan. You know, there's some people out there that think that maybe he can, provide something for a team, you know, get back to that explosiveness that 2 years ago. Dylan Sampson, who ran, I think, a 4.35.
Yeah, he did.
Yep. So, you know, there's some guys out there if you're looking, but I think Omarion Hampton, I think it's Ashton Jeanty and then everybody else. But when you get to that first everybody else, it's Omarion Hampton.
Yeah, well, there's one guy out there, Kenny. There's one guy out there I got to ask you about, and that's Cam Scatterbo, because he's the only one who's got kind of relevant numbers. It's really interesting. He rushed for 1,700 plus yards, 21 touchdowns, and over 600 receiving yards. He did this at Arizona State, 215 pounds. Didn't run a good 40, a 4.6, but somehow he was able to gain these yards, make these plays. He's almost like a more athletic Jerome Bettis or something like that. I don't really know, but this guy, he's not going to be a first rounder, but he can help teams. And you know, so can a guy like Brashard Smith, Jordan James, and the other guys that Prime mentioned. So when you think about running backs drafting in the first round, that's why you don't have to, because there are other really, really good guys you could pick up in the second and even third round, because teams are loading up on the offensive and defensive line, Kenny. So you can wait, but some of these guys you don't want to wait for. You want to make sure you can Nash and Jeanty, and you think your team is right there. You go get that guy. You go get Omarion Hampton. You go get somebody like that and change around your offense.
I love Scatterboo. It's Scatterboo.
You love that guy,
Scatterboo,
huh?
He's a Sacramento State transfer, actually. There, I'll be back.
Kenny,
who they play in the playoff? Or was
Here,
that Texas? Where he like single-handedly almost won that game in the, I think it was in the college football playoff, if I'm not mistaken.
He's done it in multiple. Yeah, he's done it in multiple places. He doesn't have all the perfect measurables, the perfect percentiles, but what he has is collision confidence. And so when that guy hits somebody, he doesn't lose his balance. Yeah, he's breaking a ton of tackles.
He's like younger Mike Allstott.
Roman hoplite. The guys that the Spartans. That's what he's built like, and he's ready to play. I don't think he cares who he puts his head into, but I think that's what people are concerned about, that he's a guy that's running through people instead of around people. How long is his little frame going to last in the NFL? I don't think he's starting for anybody year one or anything. I'm thinking he's going around pick 100, around that area. So if you can get him late second, early third, you might have something there. You never know how he's going to do.
He could be a good compliment. He could be a good compliment, though. Charbonnet and Kenneth Williams in Seattle. He might not be your main guy.
Yeah, Charbonnet's a great comp.
The Montgomery and Gibbs for the Lions. That if you can get a good tandem like that, I mean, I think he'd be a good compliment. Like I say, he'll probably end up being second, maybe even a third round guy. But I'd take a flyer, especially if he ends up falling to the later rounds. You almost scoop him right up, especially if you're like somebody like Philly who's got 22 picks over the next couple seasons.
Yeah.
See, Prime, that's the thing. We were talking about combos right now, and that's when you look at guys like, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, excuse me.
Love Judkins.
Who shared time and both got over 1,000 yards rushing. Both pretty good out of the backfield. It's like, well, how do you measure that one up? That's tough. So where they go is really interesting. And Travion Henderson is ranked ahead of Judkins, but Tyler over here is saying that he likes Judkins after Genty.
I like Judkins better than Trayvon Henderson.
And don't forget Travis's little brother.
Yeah, Trevor Etienne is very underrated. He's possibly a top 5 to 7 guy. They got him like around 10. I think they're making a mistake.
Plus, he went to Georgia, so people love Georgia players, so he might get taken second overall.
Not the Falcons, but yeah, most people love him.
Right.
There's still teams out there that need running backs. We'll see how many go in the first round. I think 2 or 3 tops. That'll be it. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe some of the teams a little bit later on will mess around, grab a running back. I don't know. Maybe even Washington might be in the mix. We'll see about that. But speaking of the running backs, I am ready to rock and roll if you guys are. I want to do our top running backs of all time. Here we go. Last week was QBs. It got heated. It got crazy. I loved it. It was fun. It was organic because I had no idea what the hell was going to happen.
They're orgasmic?
Good. Okay. A little bit. I got very excited, Kenny. I really was.
We got more whip here. We might have some feedback on it.
Let's see if these guys agree out here listening with us. We're going to do our top 10. We're going to go down 10-1 right now. What's up, Papa J in the house also? Got to say what's up.
Hey, man, I met Papa J not face to face, but on a live yesterday for the first time. Wasn't sure who that was. I love when I finally see someone like behind the avatar, Papa J was so great to meet you, and thank you for popping in last night. Thank you for popping in today. Appreciate you, man.
Papa J was the Wizard of Oz, man. He was the Wizard of Oz. He didn't let you see what was behind the curtain until it was finally time to reveal his magics. All right, so you guys remember last week I went with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson as my tie for number 10 in quarterbacks. And I still believe that. I really think that they're already one of the best I've ever seen. And to me, I really can't separate the two. It's Patrick Mahomes, then them two, and I don't know who's better between Lamar and Josh Allen. Why am I saying that? Because I am picking a modern-day running back at number 10. And that guy is a guy who always plays, who always throws people all over the field, ends up in the playoffs quite often, has carried teams on his back, has rushed for over 2,000 yards, and 84 yards a game is nothing to sneeze at. That's a lot. That's about 1,600 yards a year he averages, and that is Derrick Henry. He is my number 10 running back. Not just now, of all freaking time. Derrick Henry has proven over the years, and he's been in the league now for a while, that he is one of the best running backs that has ever played. And again, one of the 8 people that are on the 2,000-yard list. You guys all right with my number 10?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not upset. I'm surprised, but I'm not mad.
Honestly, the last set, like 8, 9, and 10 for me, it was very hard. It was very hard.
Actually, yeah, it's funny because to me, my first top 4 or 5 were easier than my back half of my picks. So yeah, I'm not mad at Derrick Henry. I love Derrick.
I have a feeling we're going to disagree a lot. We're going to have a lot of different running backs here.
Anything goes here today.
Here we go. All right, Kenny, you're number 10. Can't wait.
My number 10, I had 2. I'm not going to tell you 2, but I had 2. Didn't know who to pick. I'll tell you who they are, but I'm just going to pick one. One was Marcus Allen, and one was Thurman Thomas. And I didn't know who I wanted to pick. I love both those guys. They were like, when I was really young, they were like on their way out. You know, those guys were you know, I loved watching them both. They both had so much fantastic stuff to talk about, but I'm going to go with the Thurminator, Thurman Thomas. Just giving him the love. I know he had Kelly. I know he had Rison. He had Reed. There was a lot of passing on that team too, so it wasn't just him. He wouldn't have an amazing numbers, okay? He had like 12,000 yards rushing almost, 4.2 per carry, which is like tied for like, if you do it like that, he was kind of like tied for like, I think 6th or 5th for the most yards per carry. He had almost 4,500 yards receiving, which is what I love. Averaged almost 10 yards per catch for a running back, which I love. Second behind Falk for the most receiving touchdowns by a running back. I thought that was significant. I thought he was a big part of their success the 4 years they went to the Super Bowl. I don't know if he was there for all 4 years. I believe he was. Yeah, and that's my guy, number 10, the Thurman Thomas.
He's known as one of the first running backs. You know, Roger Craig came before him, but to be that dual threat type running back, I love that answer. I'm all good with it. What do you got, Prime? Who's at 10?
My number 10, matter of fact, is your other number 10, Kenny, is Marcus Allen.
Oh, I love it.
Simply, for the same thing. Marcus Allen, even when he went, when him and Montana were together later years in Kansas City, he was still putting up numbers. The guy had 5,400 yards receiving. There's wide receivers that have been in the league for 5 or 6 years that don't even have that. He had 12,000 yards. But he was exciting.
Thanks for popping in, Tyler.
Watching Marcus Allen play was almost like must-see TV, in that Raiders offense. And he kind of spanned a couple of different, I won't say generations, but a couple of different iterations of the Raiders offense. But he was still the focal point. And to have almost 18,000 career scrimmage yards, even for back then when the running backs, like you say, had just started to become dual threats, Marcus Allen was an easy pick for me for my top 10.
He was one of the pioneers for sure.
I'm all good with that, man. Marcus Allen, great. One of the best
runs
real
quick,
in Super Bowl history.
Marcus,
you got a captain. Go for it, Captain Cutoff. Go.
I'm sorry. I couldn't get it out of my head because I was thinking about Tecmo Bowl, and you could have Bo Jackson and Marcus.
Yeah. They were unstoppable. Didn't even have to throw the ball.
Sorry about that.
That's all good, man. That's all good. I love it. Tecmo Bowl was one of our favorites of all time. I mean, that shit was freaking great. Video games got a little bit better since then, but Tecmo Bowl is in our hearts. So you said Thurman Thomas at 10. I got him at 9, bro. And I'm not going to go on forever because you mentioned everything right there. Thurman Thomas, awesome. Loved watching him play 4 straight Super Bowls. 16th all-time on the rushing list, all right? And you wouldn't think that for a guy who's such a great dual threat as he is. And he's the 1991 MVP. I mean, how about that? All right, not many running backs win MVP.
MVP on the pile.
Yeah, so not many do that. So that's why Thurman Thomas is my number 9. He was fantastic. I wish he could have got a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
What about you, Kenny? Who's your number 9?
Okay, number 9 for me. I know he's incredible, so I can't believe he's down here, but the running backs, when I looked at them, they were just so friggin' good. Marshall Faulk at number 9, which you guys probably have higher. I got him number 9. In only 176 games, he did the 12,000 yards, which was fantastic. 3-time Offensive Player of the Year, MVP, 6,875 receiving yards, 100 rushing TDs, 36 receiving TDs, and an average of 40 yards per game. And that was receiving, I'm guessing, the 40 yards per game. Marshall Faulk, besides being on the, the greatest show on turf, I mean, he was like such a big part of that. He was also on the Colts, I believe. And so he was always someone that I always noticed, I always loved. And That's my number 9 guy, Marshall Faulk.
Marshall Faulk was awesome. I think that he's one of the most underrated running backs in NFL history, Marshall Faulk. And again, talk about a dual threat. He had all of that, went to a couple of Super Bowls. No doubt. Freaking guy was fantastic. MVP, everything. Yeah. So well done on that number 9 pick. Who do you got, Prime?
Number 9, I have the probably the best running back in the history of the Dallas Cowboys, and that would be Mr. Tony Dorsett.
Okay.
Ran for almost 13,000 yards. He received, about 3,400 yards. He has 77 career touchdowns. Tony Dorsett was another one of those guys. That was like really when I, really started getting into football, and he would just, obliterate my Giants back in the day. Tony Dorsett, outside of being a great guy, he was another one of those guys that was must-see TV. The 99-yard run, is on a lot of the NFL
all time
highlights. To watch Dallas play, he was one of the guys. If I wasn't a Giants fan, I probably would have been a Cowboys fan, and it would more likely been strictly because of him. Tony Dorsett, I think, you talk about underrated running backs in the league. Everybody talks about the modern guys and then a handful of guys from them, but you rarely hear Tony Dorsett's name in the group of all-time greats. And I had to show him a little bit of love at my number 9 position.
Showing him love, no doubt. People fall in love with that 99-yard run, of course, but he was more than that. He was a great running back for a long time. He went to a Super Bowl. So that's a fine answer. Him and Marcus Allen, 2 of the all-time greats. They didn't make my top 10 necessarily, but an all-time great certainly did. And he came up in our trivia question earlier. O.J. Simpson at number 8. 22nd all-time on the rushing list, but he was in the MVP in 1973, rushed for over 2,000 yards in 14 games. We talked about it already. Average of 83 rushing yards a game. Guy was dominant on a Buffalo team that stunk. They were terrible. They had no offensive line. They had no defense. They had no quarterback. It was the O.J. Simpson show. And look, nobody likes the guy, and if you do, you're a psychopath. I'm sorry about that, but he was an absolutely fantastic.
I think Kanye likes him, and
well, they fit in the same category. Those two, they really do. O.J. Simpson, rest in peace.
Don't forget, Jay, how great he was at USC.
2 years,
no doubt. He one of the best ever. That's why he's on my list at number 8. And you know what?
And
it
Marcus
can arguably be higher. So. He's my number 8, Kenny. What do you got?
Number 8, I got one that should be on everyone's list, but it may not be. The man, the myth, the legend, Frank Gore at number 8. Frank Gore, 3rd most carries, most games played, period. Third in rushing yards, tied for the 4th most yards per carry. Frank Gore.
Now, Frank Gore, I hear you, and I love him because, especially being a 49 fan, Kenny, we love Frank Gore, and he did everything for us. He was a bell cow. He was amazing. It's hard for me to put him in that top 10, even though he's so high and he's 3rd all-time rushing. Mm-hmm. I feel like in some ways, and I know it's hard to do this as a running back, but be a compiler. But then again, on the other hand, you can say, well, you know what? He was available and healthy, and enough teams wanted him to play. So,
best ability is availability.
Well,
he played in most games as a running back.
And 2, it goes back to what we talked about last week with the quarterbacks. Sometimes it's stats, and sometimes it's rings, and sometimes it's a combination of. But the reason why Frank Gore wasn't on my top 10 is because even though he's 3rd all time, how many people know that? If you ask somebody is Frank Gore a top 5 running back of all time as far as statistics, they probably wouldn't be able to tell you that. And I like Frank Gore, but I just think his longevity contributed more to his stats than, when you think of great running backs, outside, you guys are both 49er fans, but when you think of great running backs all time, does Frank Gore pop into your head? I could 20
not
guys.
Even at the Niner fans.
On our list. There's guys that aren't on our lists, well, other than Kenny, that would, you can go top 20, top 25, and Frank Gore probably still wouldn't appear there. So I think his longevity had a lot, but he was consistent. Like you said, he was available.
If you're available, if you're going to be able to play every day, that's all I ask of you. Be there, be healthy, get your cleats on, and be ready and get stretched and be ready to go. I'm going to use
even at an older age, he was able to do it. Colts wanted him, Dolphins wanted him, Bills
the
wanted
Jets,
him,
right?
Jets
Wasn't
wanted
Jets,
him.
well?
Jets, yeah.
Yep. So there you go. We all love Frank Gore, one of the classiest freaking players out there.
To interrupt before we move on, real quick. Curtis Martin, another guy that's probably not on anybody's list, and should also be there considered with the Frank Gore. Not if we remember him, that is.
Well, Curtis Martin, yeah, I think he's fifth on the all-time rushing list right now.
Yeah, another guy who might go unnamed, uncalled on. So
I don't know. Maybe Primetime will freak us out over here. Maybe he will.
True, he is a Giant fan.
He's
he might know some Jet stuff.
Well, Joe Moore.
Maybe pick out Tiki Barber. Yeah. Otis Anderson.
Ooh, wow.
That's the second juice. That was the second bottle of orange juice.
Love that.
So who do you got at 8, Primetime?
My number 8 is Thurman Thomas for all the reasons.
Okay, so we're all right around the same area there. All right, I like that.
Thurman Thomas for all the reasons that we mentioned. I mean, he was amazing, and he was one of those guys when you watched him play, he really didn't look that fast. He didn't look that big. He didn't look that whatever. But you look up and the guy's in the end zone. And, he was a big, big part of that K-Gun offense. That offense couldn't have ran the way that it did without Thurman Thomas being back there. So, but, we talked about him earlier, so I won't dwell on him too much. But I think, just a big thing with him outside of his dual threat was just when the perception, when you look at it, it's like, it's not that big. It's not that fast. But at the end of the day, all that matters is the guy put up numbers.
It must be a
big contributor to those 4 straight Buffalo Bills.
He can see the field as good as anybody ever could. There's no doubt about it.
He helped open up the pass. You know what I mean? He helped.
Yep. Of course he did. Yeah, Thurman Thomas was the number 1 threat on that offense. It wasn't Jim Kelly or Andre Reed. It was Thurman Thomas. There's no question about it. And you can argue who was the number 1 threat on the next team. I'm going to mention the next guy who could be a little bit higher, but he's not for me. Number 7 is the all-time leading rusher, Emmitt Smith. Yes, he's at number 7. It's
wow.
But look, he played behind probably the greatest offensive line ever. I'm not going to take it away from him because I watched Emmitt Smith and I saw him punish the Giants and punish the Eagles and punish the Redskins and punish the 40 fucking Niners and punish the Packers. He did it all, and sometimes he did it with one arm. The guy was
personal,
unreal. 1993 MVP. It's well known that in that season, he held out for the first 2 games. The Cowboys went 0-2. They finally made a deal with him. He comes in. They win the freaking Super Bowl. They ran everything off, and they win the whole thing.
The guy missed 2 games in his career. Just think about that. Had he had those 2 more games added to his stats, it'd be even, unbelievable.
Unreal. So Emmitt Smith
probably would have been. He probably would have been he probably would have ran for probably closer to 19,000 yards instead of the. What was he at? A little bit over 18,000.
You know what I hated, though? I hated seeing him as an Arizona Cardinal. That drove me crazy. Watching him in
man.
I
put that in my head. Thanks a lot for reminding me.
And probably a little known stat, he didn't break the record as a Cowboy. He broke the record as a
No. He was a Cowboy. No, he was a Cowboy.
The touchdowns he was, yeah.
It was a game against Seattle that he broke the record.
No, I'm talking about I thought for yards he didn't break that. I didn't think he broke that as a.
No, it was as a Cowboy. Yeah, it was definitely as a Cowboy for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's why it's a little known fact because it's not true.
I could have swore Emmitt Smith averaged 6 yards per carry. I think it's more like 5, but I could have swore it was
Emmitt
6
Smith,
carry.
4.2.
81 yards a game he averaged. 81 yards a game, I can tell you that. And that's a hell of a lot. That's well over 1,000 a year, no problem. So, that's my number 7, Kenny. What do you got for your 7?
Number 7, I have, which I'm guessing you guys have higher because he's got to be here. Adrian Peterson, number 7.
Love
right?
It.
You remember
that he's on the list. I love that he's there.
Second highest single season record, right? He has the second highest single season yards, I believe. And he's got the record all time, 2,097 yards, right? For one season. Isn't that him?
He's behind Eric Dickerson. Eric Dickerson.
Yeah, Eric Dickerson still has all time.
Yeah, okay. 2105 or 2109, something like that. But Adrian Peterson was only 8 yards away from breaking it. Yeah.
My favorite thing about him and why he made this list and where he is because my man also came back from a devastating injury, which I've never seen anyone.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I love AP.
And that's my favorite thing about AP, besides, using him in Madden for like 5 years.
He ran they always say he ran like he was mad at the grass.
I know David likes him.
I remember watching him at Oklahoma, and I remember he ran for a touchdown. He did a front flip into the end zone. That's where he broke his collarbone for the first time. And he came back and he went to the league, and but that whole injury thing, every time, you try to give people motivation about toughness, experience. That's one of the stories that people came back and didn't he was like top 3 for MVP that season, if I'm not mistaken.
Just amazing.
It was absolutely unreal. By the way, and he was my number 7 as well.
Oh, okay, perfect. There you go. You know what's even better than that? Oh, go ahead.
Love Adrian Peterson. Despite the fact that, people talked about the way he disciplined his kids, that has nothing to do with what he did on the football field.
Yeah, it's hard to tie those things together. I mean, people have.
We're talking about.
I don't feel like that's an off-the-field issue that goes with football. I guess. Does that sound terrible? I'm sorry.
Listen, we're talking about football on the field. Otherwise, O.J. Simpson wouldn't be anywhere near my list. But he is okay,
right?
Obviously, you guys got Adrian Peterson at 7. I got him at number 6. All right, everything you guys said all about it. He's 5th on the all-time rushing list. He's got an MVP in 2012. He's the last running back to win the MVP. Again, in the 2,000-yard club. Adrian Peterson, number 6 for me. And you know what? I thought about putting him higher, but the guys I have there in my top 5, I just had to put them. And it was hard to put them in order. We'll get to it, but yeah, Peterson's my 6. Kenny, who do you got?
Okay, number 6 for me. Let me get my magnifying glass out because I'm almost 50 years old.
Get your monocle
out. Looks like we got LaDainian Tomlinson, LT, at number 5, single season TD record holder.
Yes.
Second most TDs ever, right? Is that correct?
Did you look up the stats? What did it say?
Look at this sheet. Like I was working. I was trying to make it.
Oh
simple
my God!
For
you
when I go back and read my own handwriting.
Yeah, he's got second of
Kevin O'Connell's offensive sheet.
It's like a doctor wrote me a prescription. Like I can't read this shit. So you'll have to.
God.
I apologize, but no, it's LT.
Bill Belichick's defensive
I know he's got a shitload of stats that I could round off. For some reason, I only wrote these 3 little things. I figured he'd be on your list too, and he would be near. So you guys would take it from there.
Yes, you can see that. Tyler is saying that he's biased to AP and LT. You think that he'd have them both top 4? Probably gives away his list over there. But LT, the other LT, he certainly belongs. So you got him at 6. I love it. He belongs in the top 10. There's no doubt about it. Where you put him is another question. Let's see where Primetime put him. Did he put him at number 6 too? Or do you got somebody else?
My number 6 is what people say is the greatest of all time, and that's Emmitt Smith.
Okay.
I think if he wasn't a Cowboy, I probably would have been more of a fan. I can't say that out loud. I already blew my fandom with the love for Tony Dorsett, so I can't love 2 Dallas
Cowboys on your list
in the same ranking.
Yeah, really.
Right? So,
you're gonna lose your Giants card, bro.
I probably already did that. But my biggest thing with Emmitt Smith, outside of the whole who was better between he and Barry, blah, 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 you can't take away, we talked about it a little bit ago, with his toughness. The guy was as tough as nails, man, and he was always there. It's kind of like Frank Gore, but just with more Super Bowls. He was always there, man. Emmitt Smith was one of the toughest guys you ever seen. Plus, we've seen, over the years, he's a class act off the field too. So Emmitt Smith is my number 6.
Yeah, Emmitt Smith. Yeah, people really need to understand that just because he was behind the greatest offensive line and one of the best fullbacks in Darryl Johnson, let's not forget that the Moose was back there too.
Wow,
he was incredible. I saw a game that when he played against the Giants, but he basically broke his arm. I know, Prime, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Ran for like $150, had a couple of touchdowns. I mean, he was breaking tackles left and right with one arm. Emmitt is all time, no doubt about it. So he's your number 6. That means we're on 5, and I'm going to go now with Marshall Faulk, who already has been mentioned. All right, he was the 2000 MVP, 12th all-time on the rushing list. Marshall Faulk, an absolute dual threat. Not going to spend more time on this already, but again, 2 Super Bowls that he went to with the Rams, won an MVP, like we said. Could have maybe won the MVP in the second Super Bowl had they won it, but that didn't exactly happen there. So yeah, but pretty awesome what they did. And Marshall Faulk is in my top 5 just because of the dual threat and the fact that he's so high on the rushing list at 12, and he caught so many balls. So yeah, Marshall Faulk, number 5 for me, guys.
Wow, I just realized I had LT in my top 5. That's pretty friggin' nice. Good for you.
He belongs there, in my opinion.
Yeah. I went number 4, Emmitt Smith. So we don't got to.
Wait. Who's your 5? Who's your 5?
My 5 was LaDainian. Remember?
Who's your 6? You
then
missed your 6, Andy.
I missed my 6. You sure? Oh, I'm sorry. And you know what? I'll just move them around because honestly, it's not that big a deal. Eric Dickerson.
Okay.
Number 5. So my 6 was who was my 6? LaDainian. I'm sorry. So LaDainian was 6. Eric Dickerson 5. Single season rushing record 2,105 yards. Right. I think he led the league. His rookie year, he had the most yards of a rookie ever had before. Right. I believe that's true as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he ever got MVP. I don't think so. But Eric Dickerson, man.
Yeah, Eric Dickerson. The thing is, he played for bad teams, right? Prime, he played for the Rams and the Colts, who both stunk at that time.
Colts and the Rams.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The exact opposite of what Marshall Faulk did when he played for the Colts and the Rams because they were.
Yeah, I like that. Good juxtaposition right there. Well done. Well done. Who's your number 5, Prime?
My number 5 is LT.
No doubt.
LT was awesome to me.
Yes.
He was a funny dude. He was a cool. And I kind of I watch a lot of interviews with a lot of older players and past players, and just hearing him talk. He had fun. Never took the game too seriously. He just wanted to go out there, man. Always smiling. You could see the smile through his helmet. The guy was just and a huge reason why the Chargers were relevant at all during 2003, that little 2003-2005 window or so when they were relevant. He was the only reason that anybody wanted to watch the San Diego Chargers at that time play football.
Was that with Phillips or was it with Breeze?
That was with Phillips.
That was with Phillips.
Didn't he also have Antonio Gates, Junior Seau?
He did.
Yeah, Antonio Gates and Vincent Jackson was a pretty good wide receiver, but LaDainian was the show. I remember that he broke off a 60-yard run in an overtime game. I mean, he was just able to do everything, LaDainian Tomlinson. He is one of my favorite. Actually, you know what? He might be my favorite running back of all time, and he comes in at number 4 for me. So I like that transition right there. LaDainian Tomlinson at number 4, averaged over 80 rushing yards a game, 7th on the all-time list. 2006 MVP. Like Kenny mentioned, he's a single season touchdown record holder. It's 31 touchdowns, I believe it is. He was unbelievable. I love his celebration too, the little teapot, dip the football out there. People do that nowadays. They imitate him because he was that great. To me, he's a football freaking god, and he is number 4 on my list, Kenny.
Yeah, and he caught for like 4,700 yards out of the back.
Oh, yeah. I should have mentioned. Yeah, to me, he is the best dual threat that had ever played the game. The best dual threat.
Well, I apologize again. I wanted LaDainian to be my top 5. Dickerson was supposed to be my number 6, so whatever. It's not that big a deal, but
it's all right. We're all mentioning the names anyway. It's all good.
Yeah.
Who do you got it for?
Number 4, I have Emmitt Smith. That's what I meant to say.
Okay.
That's why, you know what, I jumped the gun and I wanted to jump on your coattails so we didn't have to keep talking about the guy. But most rushing touchdowns in history, no one's even close. I feel like that's important. I know he had the great line. Aikman wasn't an incredible quarterback or anything, but that team was stacked. They were winning tons of games. They were running shit.
Whoa, hold on. Wait. Aikman wasn't an incredible quarterback. You had him in your top 10 of all time last week.
I did.
I knew you almost let that one slide.
No, I'm not letting it slide. I'm not letting that one go. I'm sorry. You can't do that.
No,
you
that's
can't
fine.
talk out of both sides. Nope.
But do you remember what number Aikman was?
Yeah, 8 or something like that.
8?
That was pretty fucking high.
I guess only because I was going more old school, guys. I wasn't. I didn't consider anybody new. I threw Tom Brady in there because it's Tom Brady, but Pat Mahomes didn't even make my list. If you remember.
Yeah, throw Tom Brady in the top 10 of all time. Just throw him.
I put him underneath Joe Montana. Oh, sorry for Tom Brady. That's why. So. But yeah, Emmitt Smith for everything we talked about, he's my number 4 guy.
All right, I like it. We're doing pretty good here. We got a lot of the same players, maybe like 1 or 2 spots away. But all right, I'm curious to hear Prime's number 4. What do you got, man?
My number 4 is the man. Played 9 years in the NFL for the Cleveland Browns. A lot of people consider him to be the greatest of all time, and that is JB, Mr. Jim Brown. 9-time Pro Bowler. I think he was a 9-time All-Pro. A lot of people were wondering, they say his career was cut short, but then they turn around nowadays and say that the average running back only plays 3.5 to 5 years. So Jim Brown was power. He was speed. He was a great athlete. A lot of people don't remember that.
Lacrosse.
He was just a football. Yeah. What's that?
Lacrosse he played? Yeah.
Oh, I mean, he was probably your first big time running back, and he unfortunately played for the Cleveland Browns. Who were actually I think they were kind of decent back then.
Yeah, they weren't bad.
They were right.
He's 11th on the all-time list, over 12,000 yards. And believe it or not, he had like 2,500 yards receiving. And a lot of people remember that aspect of his game, but
that's true.
Great, decent actor.
Well, you see, that's the thing.
That's not A-list actor. Maybe a B-list actor. But he was,
that's the thing, Prime. That's why his career was cut short. He wanted to get into Hollywood and make sure that he didn't suffer any more damage to his body. He couldn't wait.
Yeah, you don't need to end up like Muhammad Ali. Get some money.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of charitable. He was a pretty charitable guy too. He was very much for the African American.
He was an icon. He was.
For the African American community, tremendous. Him and guys like Kareem, how they came together, and Ali was unbelievable.
Dr. J.
Yep, unreal stuff.
All right, he's my number 4.
Excellent. My number 3 is Walter Payton. Yes, Walter Payton. Some say he's the greatest of all time. The 1977 MVP, second on the all-time rushing list. Walter Payton, like you said, sweetness, Kenny, right there. I didn't really get to see him play, but I've seen enough tape, and I've played enough Tecmo Bowl myself and other stuff to know that Walter Payton is one of the greatest of all time. And look, when you have an award named after you, the Walter Payton Award, it's the most prestigious award in all of sports, maybe. Well, maybe not all the sports, but in football for sure.
A lot of Bears have awards named after them.
They do. Yeah, Dick Butkus Award, which is one of the greatest fucking names I ever heard. Dick Butkus. Go ahead and try to make fun of him. Hey, your name is Dick Butkus. He would eat you for breakfast, that guy. He would chop you.
Him, Larry Zonka were like the stairs running the...
You gotta love these names sometimes, man. I love it. But yeah, Walter Payton comes in at number 3 for me. I wish I could have seen him play, but there's no way I can leave him out of my top 3. So there it is, Kenny. That's my number 3. I got 2 left, and we're getting to the nitty-gritty.
Well, he's also my number 3, so that's perfect. Second most yards in history, 16,726, MVP in 1977. And I was lucky enough to watch him play. I watched that Super Bowl against the Patriots on the floor on a tiny TV in my mom's bedroom when we had just moved to a new place. So I remember it. And it was awesome. I fell in love with both teams. I love football. It was just so great.
And a lot of people, too, are pissed off because when they kept getting close to the goal line, they kept giving it to Perry instead of Payton.
Right. Which we have a guy in the draft this year. We have a guy in the draft this year that's like the refrigerator Perry, J.J. Pegas or Pegues from Ole Miss, who's a fullback and a DT.
Mike Ditka took a lot of shit for that, Prime. Mike Ditka took a lot of shit for
rightfully so.
Yeah. So
I mean, you're taking away touchdowns in a Super Bowl from sweetness. Kind of silly, right?
Yeah. He averaged 88 yards a game, man. 88 yards a game he averaged.
Yeah.
That's extremely. When everybody knew. Everyone knew he was getting the ball. Jim McMahon was the quarterback. They were throwing maybe a 50-yard route to Willie Gault every 9 or 10 plays.
He dealt with a lot of injuries. Jim McMahon dealt with a lot of injuries, so Walter Payton had a lot to load.
But again, he's one of those guys. When you think of Walter Payton, people forget how great he was catching the ball out of the back. 4,500 yards on a Chicago Bears team.
Just crazy.
That's insane. And just for the record, Walter Payton is my number 3 as well. So I think that might be the first time that all 3 of us had Walter Payton.
Yeah,
I think it's.
I was fortunate enough to watch him play, giving away my age a little bit, but yeah, I love Walter Payton. Walter Payton was big time, and like you say, everybody in the state of Illinois knew that he was getting the ball, and you still couldn't do anything about it, man. So yeah, Walter Payton, number 3.
What a nice guy too, right? He was a good dude.
That's the award.
Gone too early, man. It's unfortunate. All right, so now we're up to our 2 and 1. My number 2 has already been mentioned, but gotta mention his name again, and that is Jim Brown. Another one I wish I could have seen play a 3-time MVP. He's 11th on the all-time list, and again, that's only because he played 9 years, like Prime said. But he rushed for 104.3 yards a game. Let me say that again. He rushed for 104.3 yards a game in his career.
Yes, sir.
That is bonkers. That's insane. He was a man amongst boys. And again, talking about knowing you're going to get the ball, everybody knew Jim Brown was getting the ball.
And they were scared. They're
scared to death.
I wouldn't tackle that. Here's a very interesting stat about Jim Brown. And we're probably 118 games. It took him to get 12,000 yards. And if you look at everybody above him on the top 10 list, the minimum, I think, was like 140 games, 146 games for Tony Dorsett. Everybody else was 170, 168, 180.
Yeah, it took people way more games to get to 12,000. You're absolutely right.
If he would have played another 2 seasons, he probably would have ended up with 16,000. He probably would have been the all-time. Well, actually, he was at the time he retired. But he probably could have cracked like the 18,000 yard mark. That one stat there to me probably stands out the most, is that he did 12,000 yards in 118 games.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
It makes it think
more physical and violent back then.
Yeah, it makes you think of a guy like Terrell Davis, who only played 7 years in the NFL, got in the Hall of Fame because he ran for over 2,000 yards, got a couple of Super Bowls and a Super Bowl. I think he won a Super Bowl MVP, right? Did he not win the first MVP?
He won, I think it was the first one. I think.
The first one. Yep, the one where John Elway did the helicopter. Yeah, he won that one. Yeah, no doubt. So yeah, all right, I like that right there. I mean, Jim Brown he's
like you said, 118 games he did that. Marshall Faulk 176 games to get to 12,000.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a big deal. So is he your number 2, Kenny, or are you switching it up on us?
No, guys, I think we have the same top 3. Number 2 for me is Jim Brown, 3-time MVP, 2,097 yards in 1 season. Pretty nasty. I think he's second to Dickerson, right? Or is that right?
He's just third of Adrian Peterson. Okay. Adrian Peterson just passed him by like 3 yards or something like that.
That's right. He's second highest, Peterson. Correct. Yeah.
But I love it. Yeah. I don't know. Primetime, is it a trifecta? We did it with Walter Payton. What about number 2? Oh, no.
Okay. Here's my stalker. The number 2 greatest running back of all time. We talked about him earlier on your guys' list. 6,800 yards receiving. 12,000 yards rushing. My number 2 all time. Shout out to Marshall Faulk. I got Marshall Faulk at number 2 at all time, simply because the numbers. Take away the Super Bowl, the numbers. And when we talk about running backs, it's a little bit easier than quarterbacks because you're not talking about intangibles and leadership and ball placement and all that other crap. Marshall Faulk on the football field was as electric as anybody you've ever seen. And the fact that he could take a screen pass and take it 60 yards, he's the reason why the story of Kurt Warner, he was bagging groceries in Iowa, played for the Barnstormers, or whatever the hell he did. He was the main reason why Kurt Warner and that offense was successful. We talk about some other running backs and how, like the Chargers with LT, and how successful they were because of LT. The Rams would not have won toast without Marshall Faulk. 6,875 yards receiving. Again, there's guys that have been playing wide receiver in the league for 7, 8, 9 years that don't even have that. And
I know.
One of the traps we fall into is that Marshall was consistent. One of the traps we fall into is that, oh my God, Priest Holmes was good for a few years, but at the time, oh my God, he was awesome. Chris Johnson, oh my God, he was awesome at the time. Larry Johnson, Sean Alexander.
Christian Okoye.
Exactly.
Nigerian Nightmare had like 6,000 yards in 3 seasons, bro. It was like, it was literally almost that.
Then you hear nothing, but when you look at the guys on our list, they did it time and time again. And nobody, to me, Marshall Faulk is the greatest dual threat player in the history of the National Football League.
I love it, man. I love it. And you know what? I go back and forth in my head prime time. Always. Do I like LaDainian more? Do I like Marshall more? And I had Marshall 5 and LaDainian 4 because I struggled to think which one was the better dual threat. You make a very compelling argument right there.
Yeah.
All right. So now the drum roll.
Now the number one got way more interesting.
This is across the board, 3 for 3, I think.
Across the board.
Now prime time, before we get to our number one, which is our number one across the board, did you leave Jim? Where was Jim Brown on your list?
Yeah,
Jim Brown was my number 4.
Oh, wow.
He was your 4. Okay, your 4. Okay.
He was 4, Peyton was 3, and
Peyton was 3, Faulk was 2. Yeah.
I didn't write it down. So, all right, we all got Barry Sanders, who rushed for almost 100 yards per game.
Wait, Barry
Sanders? On the all-time list.
No, I'm just messing with you guys.
No, it was I'd be happy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Again, member of the 2,000-yard club. He's got an MVP in 1997 that I think, what was that? Did he share that one with Brett Favre? Is that the one that he shared?
I think, yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, the sharing one. Oh.
Yeah, that was because that
like the one with Manning.
Right, Manning and Steve McNair shared an MVP.
Unbelievable. Just pick a damn guy.
Pick a guy. Bro. And for all you guys out there that are chimed in right now and chatting and this and that and the other, I'm sure a lot of you guys are younger than I am. I'm not that old, but I'm sure you guys are younger than I am. If you've never got a chance to watch Barry Sanders, they're all over the place. And I promise you, I will buy you a bottle of your favorite alcoholic beverage if you watch highlights and tell me that you can make a case as to him not being the greatest of all time. Barry Sanders was, and I got the privilege of being here in the Motor City and watching every single down of that man play football. And I'll tell you what, you talk about bad offensive lines, you talk about bad coaches, you talk about lack of talent.
Bad team, period.
Barry got the ball. That was the ultimate must-see TV when Barry Sanders got the ball. Ask John Lynch. Ask anybody that he's ever played.
Ronnie Lott.
The most elusive player in the history of the National Football League. When Barry got the ball, you held your breath because now, on the flip side of it, there were a couple times where he ran out of gas the closer he got. He wasn't always the fastest guy, but you weren't one-on-one, you weren't catching them. And to be behind some of the most atrocious offensive lines in the history of Detroit Lion football, Barry Sanders was the man. He was the reason why everybody paid their ticket money to go see him in that magical 1991 season with him, Herman Moore, Johnny Morton, Eric Kramer, Eric Handelsek, the whole Lomas Brown, Robert Porcher.
There's Joe Horn in there, or is that later?
Who's that?
No,
Joe Horn, or is he on the state?
No, Joe Horn.
But yeah, Barry Sanders, hands down. Go watch his YouTube highlight, kid. I promise you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, and listen, there's a big thing about Barry Sanders. He's another one that retired way too early. Had he not retired that early, he would absolutely, no doubt, 1,000,000,000% have the rushing record right now and probably not become close to being broken. He retired at 30 years old. He could have gone another 4 years. He was still playing at the top of his game when he did retire. Barry Sanders.
If he did what Gore did, he would have been unbelievable. If he had
forget about it. He
kept playing and playing and switching teams and playing and playing.
Well, there's a couple of schools of thought. There was one school of thought that said that Barry Sanders retired because he didn't want to break Walter Payton's record. There's another school of thought.
Bullshit.
That can't be right.
Which the Lions screwed him over on contractually.
That's the
one. He saw the direction that the team was going, and he didn't want to be a part of it. So
that's the one, and he's not the only one. Megatron also was forced to retire.
Yeah, that's why I was just pretty much the same reasons. You know, that they didn't like the way that the organization was headed.
Another thing about Barry is that he wasn't in love with football. You know, he was just great at it. It wasn't his favorite thing to do. It wasn't, I mean, don't get me wrong, he enjoyed playing and he has admitted that, but he's also admitted that I've heard on some NFL Network show, I can't remember what it was, is that football wasn't basically his first love and it was easier for him to walk away from it. And yeah, Kenny, I think that a lot of it had to do contractually. It's very interesting.
You can't see it here, but just real quick, in his 10 years that he played, 1,700, 1,700, 1,800, 1,500, 1,300, 2,100, 1898, 1700, 2300, and 1780. Those were all scrimmage yards. He was the only player that retired with at least 1,300 yards scrimmage in every single year of his career.
Only played 2 years, made the Pro Bowl.
Mic drop.
Made the Pro Bowl every year that he played. All 10 years he played, he made
Papa
the Pro
J.
Bowl.
Papa J's got Gale Sayers in there, who was the original.
Yeah, I thought about Gale.
I thought about Gale Sayers. He had a really short
Campbell,
career.
Earl Campbell.
Curtis Martin in there too.
Yep, Curtis Martin. And that's
probably
interesting.
One of the
LT at number 5.
I like the list. Papa
Not
J.
bad, not bad. Marshall Faulk should be a little bit higher, but not bad. I like it.
Yeah,
Always
my
a pleasure,
was a
Papa
little.
J.
I do. I had Marshall Faulk
Thanks
and
for listening,
Thompson.
Papa J. Check you out, man. Check you out.
Appreciate
Thanks for dropping by.
But yeah, Barry was it, man, and I'm glad that we all got to see him. It's unfortunate that these baby boomers over here didn't get to see what Barry Sanders can do live, but it is so well worth it to go on YouTube, just type in Barry Sanders and start watching the greatest highlights of all time. Watch him dance around and moonwalk behind the offensive line before he broke a touchdown.
Hey, real quick, we didn't mention. At least I didn't mention this person when we did quarterbacks, and I couldn't. But I feel like I can mention him today. Michael Vick. Michael Vick.
You know what? I almost. Just because Michael Vick, take the dog, off the field.
You have to. It's horrible.
Michael Vick, and put Michael Vick and Barry Sanders highlights side by side, and you'll go down a 5-hour rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Michael Vick, as far as throwing the football, and people underestimate his arm. Michael Vick could put the ball, that one pass he threw, I think it was like 80 yards in the air. To Deshaun Jackson.
He flicked his wrist. He flicked his left hand. He flicked his wrist, and that ball flew. He may not have been the most accurate quarterback in the world, but he could throw the ball a country mile. There's no doubt about it. And you know what? I didn't necessarily consider putting him on my list, but as far as entertaining players to watch, he's probably top 3 all time.
Well, that's a whole other list, right?
That's another list that we made. You know what? Maybe we should do something like that.
Top 10 box office draws of all time.
Yeah. I like that.
We'd have to throw
defensive players of all time.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
I love it.
We got to do it. We got to do it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You might have to think about adding some defensive players onto that list as well.
Oh, well, that list starts and ends with one guy, and we all know who he played for.
Yeah, I think we all know what we're talking about right there. Okay, maybe another
Joey Bosa.
Yeah. Not even the best of the Boses, the most hurt Bosa that there is, though. Jeez. All right, so you know what? We did it. We did it in an hour and 17 minutes over here, so that's not bad.
And we stayed on the rails.
Yeah, I know. We actually stayed on the track this time. We were unstoppable. No doubt about it. I love it. Kenny, you want to shout out any shows that you're going on real quick?
I Wednesday at 7 p.m. West Coast. I do David McNiner's show. We just kind of hang out there, talk about topics. Saturday night on McNiner's show, 7:15 West Coast. We do mock drafts. We've been doing a mock draft every week. We're on like mock draft 8 or 9 or 7 or some shit.
Jesus.
We're mocking.
You'll be ready for hours then.
Yeah, you got too much time on your hands, man.
Too much. Too much.
Oh man. Well, we're gonna have our mock draft coming up in a couple of weeks over here, and then we're gonna have a crazy mock draft. We're gonna invite a few people on to be with us, and we're gonna go through the whole first round. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We got some great shit in store for you guys. It's gonna be great. And we love when you chime in. We appreciate it so much when McNine is around and Papa J, Tyler chiming in over here, Steve-O, just really appreciate it. It's a beautiful thing.
Tyler McGirt was in here.
Quick too, we want to let all you guys know that are chiming in with us and people out there that are watching. We're going to start doing some spaces on X. So be on the lookout for, it'll probably be like a Friday night thing, maybe no more than 30, 40 minutes or so. But that's something we really want to start getting into as we try to expand the Power 32 brand. We want to make sure that you guys are all part of it. The spaces gives us an opportunity to kind of give back a little bit, kind of be able to invite, 10 people. So if you guys are out there and you're interested and you see that invite to a space from either myself, Prophet, or Kenny, make sure you give us a shout, give us a follow, give us a response. and we'll be sure to try to get you guys on the show. So that'll usually probably be Fridays, depending. Sometimes it's date night because I don't get very many days off, but that's something we really want to get into, and we'd love to have you guys a part of it. So be on the lookout for the Power 32 space on X.
Yeah, we got a little question quick over here. The Under the Helmet podcast. Yep, me and Primetime are on Twitter. You can see our handles, I believe, right now. I'm at Sports Prophet 1 and Mr. Primetime at Mr. Primetime 313. So you can definitely catch us over there. Yeah, we follow back. We definitely do that.
Always.
Yep.
You're a football fan. You're a sports fan. We're definitely going to hook up with you. Real quick, when you said SpaceX, that got me thinking of Elon Musk. And is that why he calls all this shit SpaceX? I mean, that's really interesting.
Actually, interesting 20-second story. When I worked for another company, right before I started work for the company I work for now, they actually paid for us a trip to go down to South Padre Island, right off of Brownstown, Texas, and we actually got to go to the SpaceX facility. We were actually doing sheet metal parts for them at the time, and we went down there, and it was something to see. You look up 300 feet in the air, and there's guys up there welding. Look up 400 feet in the air, there's guys up there scaffolding. It was something. There was a high wind alert. So they had to bring all the guys down from those high altitudes like that. So the scaffolds didn't go over this area. But it was amazing. And there was a Mexican restaurant we went to real quick. And on the company's dime, we ordered literally every single thing on the menu that I could eat because I can't eat shellfish. We must have been there for 3 hours. We ordered probably 40 items off of their menu. Awesome.
Carte blanche.
Do it on the company's dime, baby. That's the way you do it, man.
That's the best dime, right?
Yeah, you're giving me this money. I'm spending it. I mean, that's what it's there for. So screw it. Right. I love it.
Damn
all right.
right.
Well, we're going to do this again next week. We're going to concentrate more on the wide receivers next week. Again, 1 through 10, best of all time. We'll do some wide receivers from the draft and whatever hot topics. Maybe Aaron Rodgers will finally make a decision, or aliens will land on the White House lawn. We'll find out. One or the other is going to happen. But for now, we're out of here. Power 32 podcast. We'll see you next week, everybody.